Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to another episode of Shagalinku. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, and today we'll be having a special guest. Yeah, she was on the show some months back, but then just as a human rights activist, a feminist, and all of that, but she's added one more feather to her cap, and she's also a female aspirant for 2023, God willing. And today we just thought it's wise to have her on the show and let's talk about Nigeria, good governance, and matters arising. Today on the show, we're looking at inclusivity and how women and youth can also have their hands on democracy and do their parts. A lot of times we find women queuing up to vote during elections, but sadly, they queue up to vote men. I think we need to change that narrative now. So together, we'll be looking at a whole lot of issues: Nigeria, insecurity, motherhood, um, the recent spate of child molestations and all of that. We'll be looking at a whole lot this evening. With my guest, you never can get tired of exploring all options and all questions here. So permit me to welcome Cesnabmihilo, Dorothy, Nuhu-Aken'Ova, an evangelist, a human rights activist, and like I said earlier on, a female aspirant, presidential aspirant 2023. Let me bring her in and then we'll talk together and say more. Hello, Ma. Let me start by
Hello.
saying Happy New Year.
Happy New Year and happy to be here. I believe it's going to be a wonderful evening.
Okay, so for those of us who will be watching for the first time, the show is being beamed across the world. So for those of us who will be watching for the first time, who is Evangelist Dorothy Nuhu-Aken'Ova? What does she do? What is in the pipeline? All of that, ma'am.
My name is Cesnabmihilo Dorothy Nuhu-Aken'Ova. I know that Ambassador Gabari is a bit cautious about murdering the name. So I've done it myself. Cesnabmihilo Dorothy Nuhu. I am a mother. I am an evangelist, I am an activist, and then a feminist. I know that many people have issues when they hear feminist and then they are scared because they are mixing it up with the women liberation movement. A feminist is much more advanced than that. We are people who discover injustices through analytical processes and strategically design intervention programs to right the wrongs. Any woman who does that is a feminist. So don't go thinking like, oh, these people who don't like men, oh, these people who want to push men out. That is not how feminists operate. We believe in inclusivity. We believe that everyone counts. We believe that we can only do it if we do it together. What we don't like is injustice, and it doesn't matter who the victim is, whether it's a child or grown up, whether it's female or male or anything else in between. We believe that we are all born equal in rights and dignity. And that is what is, defining who I am, the things that I do, my dreams, my aspirations, and the way I relate with people.
Thank you very much for that introduction, a wonderful one. So for our viewers watching right now across the globe, please drop your comments, your questions for our guest, and then let us also know where you're watching from. We got this one here, and it's from Abraham BM, and it says, our able presidential candidate, happy to have you here. Thank you so much, and do let us also know where that came from. Do you know where it came from, ma'am?
Yeah, I think it's Abuja.
Oh, okay, fine then, fine. So for those of you watching, do let us know where you're watching from. Drop a comment for our guest, and then we'll take it up from there. So let's start off first. I'll start with the aspirations. You know, the last time you were on the show, we were talking about a whole lot of other things, and it's good to see that people like you are coming out to take the leadership mantle. Now let's start with what bettered the motivation, you know, to run.
The motivation is mentorship, really, because if it was not for mentorship, I was going to say no when the idea popped up. It is young people and women and other stakeholders that are affiliated with the work that I do at the community level and, you know, at the national level in terms of advocacy. Over the years, we have worked tirelessly advocating for sexual reproductive rights. And in the past 6 years, we designed a project connecting the dots, which has to do with identifying the intersectionalities, you know, in our human rights and seeing what challenges emanate from those intersectionalities and designing interventions to deal with them in the area of political restructuring, global economy, sustainable environment, sexual reproductive health and rights, you know, and this includes civic responsibility and political participation. So over the years, we have trained, you know, emerging leaders in these fields, and it was them who came together and had this thinking to say, you know, we have theorized enough. We've done little practicals here and there. Now it's time for us to come out and do the practical. And 2023 is around the corner. And this was in August last year. So the calculation was that we had enough time to be able to do something about it. And when they said I should be a presidential candidate, that hit me, you know, really hard. Like, that was very frightening. But, you know, I consulted also with colleagues and with friends. And I remember meeting this long-term friend. We do politics together. And he said, you know, you can't let these young people down. You mentor them. They need you to guide in this instance. You can't say no. You have to accept to run. You know, so for me, the primary motivation is that it is the continuation of the process of mentorship, which I have been doing with young people. So here is the practical component of it, reality.
Wow. Wow. So what do you think women can bring to the table? Because a lot of times commentators, critics have also x-rayed countries where women are taking leadership roles, you know, and have seen a whole lot of change. We saw that happened also during the COVID pandemic, where women who were leaders in their countries have, you know, been able to surmount some of the indexes and issues surrounding health. Now, what do you think women are bringing? Because it's not just about you alone. You are the face representing other women, giving other women that boost, that courage that if you could come out, they too would like to someday. So what are women supposed to be bringing to the table as they show interest? Because it even starts with the interest, you know, and that's why everyone is applauding this. We've had instances where people complain, women complain actually, that political parties don't make it a bit friendly for women. They put party meetings late at night, and how do you expect some women to do all of that? But let's even start with the nitty-gritties. What do you think women can bring to the table?
Okay, so this is beyond the biological definition of who we are as women. This has to do with our capacity. There is a huge reservoir of capacity, of skill, of knowledge in the women in Nigeria. And that is what we are bringing on board. That capacity that we have been socialized to multitask, to be analytical, to be honest and sincere, and then operate in atmosphere of transparency and accountability. We have been born since day one. Women are held accountable by their siblings, by their parents, by the church, by the society. So we are used to that. And that is what we are bringing on board that is different. We are forthright. There are no ambiguities about how old am I, that kind of thing. It is that kind of truthfulness, that sincerity that we are bringing on board, but most importantly, the compassion that we have as women, the inborn ability to nurture to life, even those things that are dead. That is what we are bringing on board. We are used to working with older people, younger people, with men, with women, so we're bringing a whole lot of things on board. And I'm just simply excited about the potential of seeing it play out there. No wonder where we have women ruling, leading in other places, we've seen change, positive change. And so I'm excited about this because that potential, that reservoir is what we are bringing on board, that new energy, and passion and zeal, so that we can begin to wake Nigeria up and put her in the right direction while working with all stakeholders at the same time.
Beautiful one. In case you just joined us, this is a special edition of Shagalinku TV, and we're streaming live from Abuja. Do let us know where you're watching from. We have our guests in the house, Evangelist Dorothy, Nuhu-Aken'Ova, a human rights activist, a female presidential aspirant come 2023, and we're looking at issues, in Nigeria, good governance, matters arising, and all of that. Do let us know where you're watching from, and if you have comments or questions for her, drop it on the comment section, and we'll read all of them. This is from Juliana Oguche. It says, we're watching from Naibawa, Kano. Thank you, Juliana. And the second time around, she says, good to see that you're coming out to run, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. And Juliana, a third time, says, I pray we keep to our promises and continue these good deeds. And I'll take the other one so that you can respond to this. It says, we have seen Western countries where women are key leaders do so well in giving good governance, especially in the time of COVID crisis. Nigeria, as it were, is experiencing a pandemic worse than COVID. My question is, what do you plan to do differently if you become president? But this is for you, so over to you. This is Juliana from Kano.
Yeah, can I see that previous comment before this one, that one line thing? Let me start from there.
The one she says, I pray we keep to our promise.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I think keeping of promises has to do with how thorough people have done their assignments before coming out and the experiences that they have. I don't think that there is room to doubt that whatever commitment we are making now will make the best of it in terms of bringing it to fulfillment. Those who have worked with me know that I do my work. And when I put my hand on the plow, I don't look back. I will see the end of the matter. So this is the commitment that we are bringing. I know that is a Herculean task, like you have said, that Nigeria is worse off, with challenges that are worse than COVID plaguing us. There is poverty, there is insecurity, and it's affecting the economy and the livelihoods of the people. The insurgency is very, very bad. Communities are getting sacked. People are losing their homes, their lives. Girls are being abducted and raped. There is a myriad of very worrying things. The infrastructure is continually just deteriorating, and then we are living in a context where we have borrowed and borrowed and borrowed to the point that we practically are at the point of sell out as a nation. And, you know, I was listening to an analysis this evening, and the person who was speaking said that we are the only country that is oil producing that, you know, imports 95% of the finished petroleum products, you know, and he said other OPEC countries is the reverse. So we have several issues that are confronting us. Our electricity is still epileptic. It gets worse by the day. The water supply, I tell you, there are children who have grown up and have never seen water running from the tap. There are schools without libraries. You know, we are living in this millennial era, and then we have schools that don't even have analog library, not to talk of the electronic things that will make them, you know, compete with their peers. So it's a challenge. What's going to be different with me? It's that I understand intersectionalities. In fact, that is, you know, I'm at home with it. And a long time ago, since we started discussing in the feminist circles about how to deal with issues, we agreed that until we can understand how the challenges intersect one with the other, we will continue to run after one thing while the other one is getting bad. So there is need to look at the issues in the country in an intersectional manner. And when we do that, then the solutions are better likely to be successful. You know, if we want to deal with health alone, and after health, then we face NEPA, you know, PHCN. Then after that, we'll come and do what I've had people say, just take one thing and do it well, so that we know during your tenure you did something. What happens with that kind of intervention is that when there are interventions or responses to a problem, and we are not looking at the intersectionalities, that solution we are proffering may just be triggering another problem. And that is why looking at things from an intersectional perspective is the best approach, because it enables you reduce harm by your interventions. So what am I doing concerning environment? How is it impacting on livelihoods? And how does that then impact on the education enrollment of children? How does that impact on reproductive health? One decision, you can draw the thread to all the components of our human rights. That's what I'm bringing on board, and that's going to be different. It is a bottom to top approach. It is an approach that brings all the stakeholders together so that we are able to build consensus, build momentum, and take this country off from where it has dropped to.
Wow, thank you so much, ma'am, for that. So I'm also going to ask these, but this is to also let our viewers know that we're streaming live in 3 destinations: Shagalinku TV Facebook page, Shagalinku TV YouTube page, and my page, Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari. Could you also share your handle with us so that while you're talking right now, then you might just be winning more souls to your campaign team, and they would want to check you out?
Yeah, so if you want to check us out, everything is Cesnabmihilo 2023. So that is .com for our website. And if you go to Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, just enter Cesnabmihilo 2023 and you are there.
You might need to spell the Cesnabmihilo for us so that people will get the right word. Yeah.
Put it out to the screen as well. Cesnabmihilo. Cesnabmihilo 2023.
Okay, beautiful one. And it's also on the screen, so you will see it now, and you just follow her for updates and all of that. You mentioned something about intersectionality, and that brings me to my next question that I'd like to ask. What are you not worried about the dwindling number of women in leadership positions? During Obasanjo's time, it was a bit high. During Jonathan's time, it was encouraging, but during this dispensation, it's really gone discouragingly lower. How do you think we must begin to encourage inclusivity, for women and youth particularly? And it's worrisome in the political space because these are the two key players when you talk about development anywhere in the world. I mean, you can't take away the energy, the exuberance, the talents that young people bring. You can't also take away the new approach, the outlook that women bring to the table. And of course, they are even kingmakers, so to say, or leader makers, because they queue up to vote. They are the ones who, even within the communities, talk to men to also go and vote. So are you worried about the declining number of women and youth, particularly in governance?
Very, very seriously. Since 1999, what we have done is the plummeting of numbers of women in decision-making position, especially in the elective posts. We have consistently witnessed like no deputy governor woman. That's strange. How many women in the Senate? How many in the House of Reps? I think in Niger State we have one woman in the House of Assembly. Can you imagine that?
You are lucky. In Kano, we don't have any.
Almost like 50-50, So, and then the question of youth. The definition out there is what is compounding the problem. You can see a youth that is 50 years old. Those political parties, you don't want to see the youth there. Some of them are grandparents and they are youth. That's a problem. So it means that if they are the youth who are in there running things at the political party, when it is time to put people, up for elective positions, they are the ones who are likely to contest. So we need to begin to drive the right definition home of who a youth is. In developing countries, we have young people who are executive directors at the age of 24, 22, so that's the kind of age we are talking about, not the ones that have already peaked in their lives, their energy and all. So we need to begin to address it from there. When we are in our villages and we have youth wings, we know that there are these elderly men who are youths. When we are in the church or in the mosque and we are talking about youth, then we see the same age groups, playing out. Some people remain in that youth category till they are 55. Those are no longer youth. So we need to begin to adjust even our definition and our understanding of who a youth is, so that we can understand who we need to then bring on board. So I am worried that young people are not having opportunities. And that is why when in 2014, I began to take interest in politics and how the processes and structures are driven and the need to engage with the system and processes to bring improvement. It was all triggered because of, first of all, the bad governance and the lack of accountability and transparency, and also because of the people that are in there. This hierarchical patriarchy that we have, it just makes them feel like nobody should question them, nobody should challenge them, but it doesn't work that way. We need to open up, and that's why we started the Institute Connecting the Dots with some of the colleagues around who have teamed up with me to run the training for young people, male and female, persons with disabilities and other minorities in our populations, women and other disadvantaged groups, so that they can begin to learn about the architecture of our political environment and discover at what level they are interested in engaging. But then that training provides them with content so that when they are undertaking analysis of the party manifestos, when they are doing analysis of gender representation, youth representation, they are doing it from the position of knowledge, and they have skills and capacity to undertake that analysis. So it's a worry, and there are platforms that have been created I know that there is a platform for young people in politics. There is also a platform for women in politics. These platforms have, and aspirants, women as female aspirants, for 2023. So these platforms exist so that we can better coordinate our actions, so that as a group, we can, a critical mass, create that pressure point that can make the space break open for more of us to troop in. So as we engage, as we continue to support one another, as we continue to educate one another on how we can move this forward, how we share our stories and our experiences, create capacity for other people to come on board.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll put some more comments on the screen for you to read out and then respond to some of them. This is from Abdurrahim Imam. If you see this mark, can you read and respond?
I am super comfortable that Dorothy can move Nigeria forward. My question to Dorothy are: one, the federal government has just postponed the fuel subsidy removal to 18 months. If you become the president, what do you plan for that? Secondly, the president refused to sign the Electoral Act bill on direct primaries, and it was eventually removed by the National Assembly. How do you see that? What plan do you have for Nigerian youth and for Nigerian women? Okay, so let's talk about subsidy removal or postponement. I don't see any reason whatsoever why our refineries are not working. There are staff working in those refineries, the salaries are being paid, the budget still carries maintenance of those refineries. We have in fact invested money to renovate some of these refineries. I was shocked the other day to see that one of those refineries is burnt. Why should it burn when we have put in money there to renovate it? I smell a rat. Is it that somebody embezzled the funds and didn't renovate it and then burnt a part of it so that they can claim that they did work but that fire engulfed it? That is, it puts me in a position of discomfort, because we need to begin to hold people accountable. Since that fire was reported, we've not gotten an update. What was the source of the fire? What damage was done by the fire? What has happened as far as the sums of funds that have been sunk in there is concerned? We need to begin to request for these updates, for this accountability from the part of those at the helm of affairs. It means that if we are producing and refining our own products, then we are able to afford them. And because we can afford them, and we are shipping out and raising even more revenue from that, then the citizens are cushioned, in terms of how much impact they have, spending capacity, fueling their cars and so on. We need to begin to look at these components. We must make our refineries work. It's a pity that there are vested interests, people who have opened refineries outside Nigeria. So they take our fuel to their refineries. They are Nigerians, and they refine it and they bring it back to us to buy. All of those things. We saw during Jonathan and during Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, when they did some subsidy gimmicks and were able to put some Shopee money down, extra budget for government to be able to improve livelihoods. In Niger State, for instance, the Shopee money was used to build a huge modern hospital. It was supposed to be a maternity and neonatal, section. But I understand that so much more goes on in there right now. So Shopee was also used to improve means of transportation. So we can see where those monies can enter, So I think that we shouldn't be averse to things that will bring progress, The only thing that makes Nigerians kick against those kind of interventions is because they can see the results. If you are removing the subsidy, let us know where the money is going. Let us see, let us feel that the money has been used to improve and cushion, our lives in one way or the other, that we can afford education, that we have quality medical facilities and qualified healthcare providers, that we have good roads, that, we have our infrastructure is good and we can live comfortably. Our security is, on top. Unfortunately, when they tax us all around the things we do, we don't see what they are doing with the money. And that's why Nigerians are very angry and, are not comfortable with these strategies. If we can see where it is going to, then we will be more comfortable. If I see what you are doing with my 5,000 naira, I won't complain because I can see the result. I can sleep with my 2 eyes closed. So we are going to be looking into that when we do take over power. Of course, with consultation with people who have experience to advise on how best to do it so that we don't cripple the nation and we don't suffer those who are already, So that is about the fuel subsidy. The second one was, can I have the screen, please?
I'm trying to bring it out here. Yeah.
Yeah, the Electoral Act bill, he didn't sign it because of the clause that was in it for direct primaries. And sincerely speaking, I understand the challenge with direct primaries. Direct primaries will feel like we are doing a general election before a general election. That is going to be very expensive. There are parties that haven't been in government and haven't stolen money to fuel the engine of their parties. Where are they going to get money from to conduct a direct primaries nationwide? It costs a lot of money to run that. And then it may be chaotic, And then in the areas where there is insurgency, banditry, where people have been sacked, what happens? So in a way, it makes sense that the atmosphere we have right now is too volatile and we may not do well with direct primaries. However, this bill could have been sent back to say, look, this one you put direct primaries, because that was the excuse that he used not to sign it. He can say, I'm not signing, please remove it and bring it back. Now it has been 4 times that bill is entering the presidency and coming out. I know that right now there are people who are still working on the bill and it's going to be submitted again. We have to do something before the elections. We need to get this card reader game right. If I can't use your ATM card and it is working fine for all of us, then we can use card readers and it should work for all of us. Why is it that our ATM machines are working and our card readers are not? Why? It's the same science, it's the same technology, So I believe that there is more to it than meets the eye. And we as Nigerians need to be vocal about questioning the reasons why we would not have the electoral bill signed into an act before 2023. However, I learned in a group that I participated in recently that 23 recs, their tenure will expire before 2023 elections. It means those 23 recs, ANEC recs, will need to renew their term. But there are 8 whose term is not renewable. They have done, their term is finished. So new people need to be brought on board. Now we can lose our elections by not minding who replaces those 8. And so we need to be looking at all the various game plans that are ongoing to make sure that we are not rigged out of election even before the election starts. Because sometimes people put people there that will make some compromises in their favor. And we must shine our eyes to make sure that whoever comes there has been selected based on merit, on criteria that is clear to everyone, even the lay person, to see, rather than jamming the whole place up with our uncles and our nephews and cousins. Let us have people who can be neutral in the elections. And there was a final bit of question there, and it had to do with what have I planned for youth and women. For me, the greatest plan there is, inclusion. I want women and young people to enjoy participation, to be included. It's beyond consultation, and it's way beyond the disgusting charity that we do peanuts here and there. No, we need to look at these populations. We need to analyze to see how we can add value and make people self-determine and self-actualize. It is not enough to keep people on a leash by giving them trickles, and bits and pieces of seeds to swallow. We need to create an atmosphere where young people can operate. They have so much energy, so much innovativeness, so much creativity. If I see how the NSAS was coordinated, I marvel, honestly, how modern technology was used, even in fundraising and financing and all of that. It means there is a potential in there that we have not harnessed. My responsibility as a very youth-friendly person, a mother, an aunt, a sister, is to ensure that there is that enabling environment for young people to self-actualize. They don't have to japa in order for them to live meaningful lives. They should be able to live quality lives in Nigeria because this is their home. There is need to ensure that the atmosphere is friendly, that a successful young person is not a thief. A successful young person is not a Yahoo boy. A successful young person is not an armed robber, and that is why sometimes young persons are carrying their backpacks with their computers in it and they are stopped by the police and such. I'm not saying it is wrong to search, but when we search already concluding in our minds that this must be a Yahoo boy, this must be a kidnapper, we are getting it wrong. When I studied the law, I studied in the law enforcement agency where I worked. I was taught in my first class of the law course, on the course in law, that it is better to let 100 guilty people go free than to punish one innocent person. So to begin to look at people as already guilty even before they are proven so, contrary to the provisions of our law, is not an enabling environment for the young people to thrive. And so my job is cut out for me. And that is what I've been doing anyway, building capacities for young people to self-actualize. So I have told people repeatedly that this is not about Dorothy. 2020 is not about me. I don't want power. I'm not hungry for power. I don't need that kind of power. I am just a vessel through which the aspirations and hopes of the most disadvantaged and marginalized of Nigeria is finding expression. And that is all that I am, and that is all that I'm going to be, so that everyone can have a sense of belonging and a sense of ownership in this country.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We still have our guest here, a very special guest, Dorothy Nuhu-Aken'Ova. And keep dropping your comments. And yes, please share this video. The video will still be here even after the show. You can just share with other people and drop your comments even after the show, because we might still bring her later on to address a whole lot of issues. So many messages here, ma'am. So we'll quickly read them before we wrap up, because we've got like 10 minutes more to wrap up. So I'll put some of them on the screen for you to read. This one is from William Warrigon. If you see it, ma, please quickly read, and then we'll read some more, and then you respond to like 2 or 3 at once.
Yeah, the typical Nigerian youth is discouraged because the politicians that are meant to be role models don't match their words with their practice. While campaigning, they make lofty promises, but when they get to the top, they shy away from their promises. Should politicians be made to sign an accountability contract whereby they state that if within so and so date they are unable to deliver on their campaign promises, they should honorably resign? I think that we already have those provisions in our law. We can call back our politicians. It is there. And it is when we see that they've made promises, and the first 100 days, we can see that they are not working in that direction. 6 months, they don't have a cabinet. 4 years, they haven't done anything. They are still coming out to campaign for a second term. You know, we should use the constitutional rights that we have to recall them. We don't have to sign any new contract again. When they took an oath, the day they were sworn in, that was the contract they were entering with every Nigerian and before God and man. And when they refuse to keep those promises, then we should call them back. Why have we not been able to call them back? Because we are not holding our members in the houses accountable. If we hold them accountable, then we will be able to tell them, look, oh, if you don't begin to move motion to remove so and so, then we will move motion to remove you. You know, and then we do it. We harvest the signatures, and then we, institute action. By the time we do it 1, 2, 3, and it works, other people will sit up. But we just sit down and say, it's 4 years now. They will go, they will come back. After all, after 8 years, it don't finish. Then new people can come in. Is it not their tenure? They must do 8 years. 8 years will come and go. That is wrong attitude. 8 years is a lot. Do you know what a child has done since that child was born 8 years ago? And that's why, like play, Nigeria is 60 plus, and we are still where we are today. It's not right. We should call them back. There is no other contract to sign with them. It's already signed. They have already taken an oath. They fail, we call them back.
Okay. William, the second time around, has this one. So we'll quickly read this, ma'am, and then you respond as well.
Nigerian women are never in support of one another. What can you do in order to show up confidence among women for women, to support other women vying for political positions, considering their number population-wise? I think it's a myth, and because that myth is passed on and on and on, it begins to sound like the truth. And then some people begin to act, that truth, which is a lie. I have women who have supported the work that I do. I can name them on all my fingers and toes multiple times, and I won't exhaust the list. My mentors are women. Professor Kweji Olukoya found me and groomed me. She started the job. Professor Bene Madunagu, Aisha, Imam, they put their hands on board, including those outside Nigeria like Ruth Mutongo, like Sylvia, Tamale, like, a host of, I can just go on and on. Adrian, Jermaine, they have all contributed. There are many of us like that. We've been mentored by other women, and they've not given up on us. They are still there supporting us, cheering us on. I don't think I'd be where I am today if it was not for women who groomed me. And I'm not alone. There are many others. And I'm grooming other women too. I can't groom them and then throw them away. No, I want to groom them to achieve something. And I will support them until they have achieved that thing. And it is the same. If you hear people say women don't like women, it is because there are women who have been socialized by men to do things for men in a way men want. Those are the women that you may say, are not in support of other women, and they are not in the majority, I can tell you that. It's a socialization gone wrong. Many women, we love one another, we work together, we don't fight, we don't break chairs on each other, I've seen men in the House of Assembly pulling punches, and tearing each other's shirt. Nobody is saying men don't. So is it every man that supports every man? Why is it that in the case of the woman that it must be like every woman must support every woman? I'm saying this like we don't want to kill one another, and we don't. But we also may disagree on some things, just like the way men disagree on some things. And that should be seen as a proper democratic process. I don't have to agree with everything. I can disagree with some things, with Ngozi, for instance, or with Stella. But it does not mean that I don't like Stella to make progress. When I see Stella doing something progressive, I will throw all my weight behind that. And they do same for me. So when we are propagating this myth, it is an agenda to weaken the resolve of women and make us think and suspect one another. We shouldn't listen to those things. We love one another and we are working together. I tell you, if you see the huge platform that we have, the female aspirants, we are working together. Nobody is, fighting anybody. We even are sharing our offices across parties. I know a colleague in Abuja who is hosting two people from two different political parties and all two different from her own party. We have resolved that this time around, we won't listen to that myth. We won't pay it attention. And we are doing it openly so that everybody can see that we are united as women.
Wow, thank you so much, Ma. We're streaming this live from Abuja, just so you know. And thanks to everyone who's been watching and sending comments. I'll quickly read some more here. This one is from William, a third time around. He says, break chairs low. I'm sure that was what she said about men fighting in the house and all of that. We got this one again from Juliana. It says, Mama, oh, which one is your party? Let me go and register as a card carrying member. Thank you so much. She will tell us shortly.
Juliana, it is the Social Democratic Party. It is the closest I have seen in terms of an ideologically defined and driven political party. We did a thorough analysis. We examined parties, and that was the one that scored the highest in the checklist that we had, and that's why we are there. Trust us, we will not go to a party that is not ideologically driven or that has no respect for rules and principles that are set by themselves. You say you will include women, and then you go ahead to deliberately exclude women, shut them down, and refuse them to rise. That is horrible. So we did all those checks, and we discovered that the SDP is where we go. It's an old party. It has a record of good integrity, and so we are there to reinforce that.
So quickly take this one. I think this will be our last message before we wrap up. There's another one here from Juliana. Ma, can you help us read this, and then you drop you.
Our core value system as a nation is totally bankrupt. Our educational system is archaic and cannot stand the contemporary times. Our educational system does not in any way prepare us for the future. I don't even want to talk about the health sector because it is non-existent. Primary healthcare is zero man. What solutions will you provide in this urgent needs. Let me start from the last one. Health sector reform has been done repeatedly and repeatedly. We have enough policies on the shelf and all of that to work with. We have enough resources to make them work. And what we are going to do is to follow the money. You budget the money, our eye is on it. We know activists on ground who can engage in budget tracking. If we are busy running things, we can count on them to track those things for us. So every penny to the health sector goes to the health sector. And globally, there is a percentage of a nation's budget that must go to the health sector. Nigeria has fallen way below that percentage of the budget. Instead, we are using 24% of our budget to service loans, or even more than that. While health is left with less than 7% in many instances. There were years that it was just 4%, and they were telling us that they've done well. That's an improvement. Hey, that's not. We are going to make sure that the welfare of the people is, a top priority, because it's when people are healthy that they can make wealth. And when they make wealth, they are busy, they are happy, they are occupied, and so they are not going around bombing people, killing people, butchering people, because everybody has something to do. So that is the interconnection that I was talking about earlier, and we will explore it maximally to make sure that the nation is prosperous. In terms of education, I have detailed policies. We are still finishing it up so that we add the right statistics here and there before we make it public. But I know that education sector needs a serious overhaul, just like the security sector of the country. Fortunately, I have done some law enforcement experience in my life, and that will come in handy as far as security is concerned, because I was well trained and I did work, and I worked very well before I left the agency. Now, with the education, same thing. I have always believed that if we want to see progress, then the nation must be educated. And so there have to be a deliberate attempt to make that happen. How are teachers treated? How are they remunerated? What is there to motivate them to do the right thing? And are there disciplinary measures to handle those ones that are not doing what they ought to be doing? The supervision department that we had, that was effective when I was going to school, is no longer effective, because for them to even fuel their cars, maybe that has been contracted to the wife of the governor or the mother of the governor or something like that. So you see that all the work is being done from government house instead of from the ministries. And instead of budgeting and allowing the local government to have adequate resources to do the work, there are compromises about what percentage to give them. Just give them money to pay salaries. That's all. All the projects are at the state level. How can a state know what the local government needs? Is it not them who know their needs? If you give them the money, sure, they will eat it. Will they be able to go back to their village? Will the villagers not punish them themselves? But when there are compromises or budget has come from federal government, the state has removed its own and has given peanut to local government, will not feel accountable to the state or to the people, because somebody up there has taken a percentage from what they've been given. All those things need to be corrected. Like you say, moral bankruptcy is worrying us. We need a value redefinition. The other day I was thinking about my cabinet, and I said my ministers will be preachers. They will have to preach human rights principles. They will have to preach values. They will have to preach that people are defined by ideology, by principles, by standards, so that there are no compromises here and there. And they have to live that lifestyle before they can preach it. Of course, including myself. So enough of sending children abroad. Do you know how much school fees we are paying abroad? All these parents, if they could bring all that money back to Nigeria, our education, even people will be coming from England to school here. Every parent that has a child schooling abroad, let them plow the school fees back into this country, into the education sector, and you will see the revolution that will happen. So we will have to start looking at those things. If you're a government official, if you have benefited from being in a government position, let your children school in Nigeria. That's the only way we can start to look at the things that are wrong. And we will know. Imagine bandits saying, those children, they are saying we picked them from a school hostel. We picked them from a bush. Because even the bandits know that that school, the standard is not a school standard. We saw it in the video clips. It was the shame of the country. How can we have children that we price and value sleep in a squalor like that? It's very, very, I think Nigerians, we need to get our anger right. Enough of just sitting down condoning this nonsense. And that is why we are coming out, because we want to reset the button. We want Nigeria to begin to move in the right direction. Children must go to school, and the schools must be good. The schools must be like where I want my own children to be. It is not something for my kids and another thing for other people's children. No, every child is my child. Every child is precious in my sight. Every child counts. Whether the child has disability, whether the child is able-bodied, whether it's from rural area, is a child, is precious, is valuable, and we are accountable to them. We are here for them. We are here to prepare for them, so that when we quit the scene, they have where to stay and where to go. Enough of taking for granted the future of our children. Enough. It is only here that I see that parents love themselves more than they love their children. It's even getting me like, no, it's wrong. In the correct atmosphere, we all pray to die before our children. We all wish our children to be better than we are, to go beyond where we have been. What is wrong with us? Something is definitely wrong with the way we are reading our own parenting. We need to check that. In the education sector, we have to rearrange that, and we will. I promise.
Thank you so much, Ma. We need to wrap up now, but I'll quickly just read a few messages and then we'll close the show. This one is from Abdurrahim Imam. He says, I'm eager to see you, Juliana. I'm in Kano. You will be automatically registered. And Juliana says, SDP, here I come. And then William Waringo says, with this beautiful presentation, consider me a member already. Thank you so much. And then Juliana says, we move. And she also responded to Abdul Rahim. He says, seriously, we'll send a DM shortly. And William again says, this is absolutely true and thought-provoking. Kudos, Juliana. So many other messages here that we can't read. Time is not on our side and time is not our friend. But I promise that, okay, I got this other one from Abraham. He says, Shagalinku TV, I'm happy for this program. Please, you guys should invite her over for Hausa session. Thank you. God bless you. And Abdul Rahim says, sure. So many messages here that I think we'll bring her back again. There are so many other issues that I like our guests to talk about. So, man, your final words, what would you like to say in the next 30 seconds?
Get your voter's card and you must vote. You must vote. People are asking, why should Nigerians continue to vote? Your vote counts. When you vote, it makes it more difficult for them to read. Come out and vote. When you don't vote, you leave them space to some print. When you don't use your voter's card, when you don't go to pick your voter's card up, let us use our voter's cards. Go get registered. Please join a political party. Young people, women, be active in the party. Though that is the space where people are produced for people to vote for. So we don't have independent candidate arrangement in Nigeria. So if you want to come out and join hands with us and get this thing fixed, you have to come on a platform. So get on board the platform right now and begin to work towards when you can come and be elected, you know. And then we're sure Nigeria will be a better place soon. I promise you.
Wow. Thank you so much, ma'am. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks to everyone who sent in messages, everyone who watched. The videos will still be here. You can share after the broadcast. And do remember to like our social media handles as well. It's at Shagalinku TV all across the social media handles. And remember also to like our guest's handle. We'll still put it on the screen. Even after the show, we'll put it on the comment section so that you can all follow her for updates. And you might just be seeing her in your zone shortly when she comes around to do her campaigns and all of that. For now, we wish all of you a very wonderful time, and we wish her too the very best. And we hope we'll bring her shortly to also tell us how she's been going in our campaigns and everything. Well, my name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, and thank you all for being here. Till we come your way again in another session for another interview and all of that. Stay well and have a blissful night rest. God bless all of you, and bye-bye.